Hello, my friends. Thank you for joining me today. On October 15th, 2021, Nintendo announced new add-ons to their, Nintendo Switch Online membership that you can purchase extra. And I wanted to talk about that today. What my opinions are of it, what I think about the new price, and other things that might come to my mind. Basically, your everyday ramble. But before I do that, it's probably best to give you a little background into what I'm even talking about. The Nintendo Switch has an online membership that costs $20 a year. With that, you get a few main features, such as the ability to play online, I believe access to the eShop, although I'm not entirely sure if that's actually part of it, and of course the surprise of it when it came out is there are two apps for the Switch called the NES app and the Super NES app, and what they are is you can play select NES and Super NES games on each. It was actually a rather interesting surprise that that came with the original membership for no cost. Well, about a month or two ago, Nintendo announced that they will be also adding on an extra thing. This extra expansion for the Nintendo Online membership includes apps that are very similar. The Nintendo 64 app, where you can play Nintendo 64 games, and the Sega Genesis app, which you can play select Sega Genesis games. That is the shock because, as one can tell, the Sega Genesis is not a Nintendo system. And the minor thing is you get a certain Animal Crossing DLC for free. But unless you own Animal Crossing, that does not really matter. Since I don't, that doesn't really matter to me. Well, today they announced the price, and that's something we need to discuss. I hurt my fingernail a bit, like this finger right here, the nail's almost gone. Like, that was nasty. So that's why you don't hear me tapping from that finger very often. Well, first I want to talk about what I think about these gaming apps, if you will. The NES and the Super NES. While I really like them, and I like many of the select games, I don't really use it all that often. I mean, I do use it, but 95% of the time I play on my Switch, it's the original games. And at best, 5% is spent on those apps. My impression of the NES app is that it's very interesting and kind of fun, but the problem is the games are so, not, I don't want to say obsolete, but are so primitive that they're hard to really get into unless you have nostalgia for them. Not all games are like that, like Super Mario Brothers and Legend of Zelda are clearly games that have aged incredibly well, but a lot of the games that have aged well on the NES don't seem to be on the app. For instance, I want to play the Castlevania games, but they're not available, even though, we'll get that in a minute. The Super NES one I use a lot more, probably double, maybe triple the time of the NES app. A lot of that has to do with my nostalgia. I grew up with my first console being the Super NES. Now this is not indicative of my age, as when I was born, the Nintendo 64 had just come out. Oh, had it just come out? No, I think it's been out for a little while. I don't know. I have to look see when it came out. But I had a Super NES because my parents were not rich. If you go to my, if you're subscribed, and it's a good reminder, if you're not, please do. If you're subscribed, the first video you should see is a video titled Who I Am, and it will go into my family's history and finances. But long story short, TLDR version is I was poor. I grew up in LA and then St. Louis. So my first console was not the new one, but the old Super NES, which was perfectly fine. I grew up with a number of games that my parents had when they were younger. Well, relatively younger. And I mostly play a lot of those games on that app, including Stunt Track Racer, which apparently is not a very beloved game, but I like it because I remember playing it when I was younger. But to get back on topic, I use the Super NES app sparingly, and I use the NES app even more sparingly. So just so you know, I don't use them all that often. They're kind of novelty, but I will use them legitimately, unironically, from time to time. Sometimes you just have to have a fix of playing the old games. For instance, on the NES, sometimes I like playing the Mario Golf or the Tecmo Bowl game. I know, kind of surprising. And I forgot what it's called, but there's a boat racing game that's kind of fun. But I don't really use it all that often because the games are pretty primitive. And Ninja Gaiden I'll play sometimes, but you know. But that leads us back to the expansion. When I heard about the expansion, it actually piqued my interest because I had played NES and Super NES games. I owned a Super NES, and I used to play a lot of NES games when we had that kind of thing. We had a little bit of we eventually got a third-party system that can play NES, Super NES, and Genesis games. So we had a few NES games for that. No Genesis, but that's another story. So with a 64, I had never played it. The only time I ever played the 64 was when I was waiting for the dentist a couple of times back when I was really young. It had a Nintendo 64 in there that, you know, apparently a lot of doctor's office and dentist places do. So that's really my only exposure to the Nintendo 64. Outside of that would be like remakes. Like I played Mario 64 DS and I played Zelda Ocarina of Time on on the Zelda collection for the GameCube. So my experience with the Nintendo 64 is limited, and even more so, my experience with the Genesis is limited. The only Genesis games I ever played were Sonic games, Sonic the Hedgehog games, which I had gotten on the Sonic Mega collection for the GameCube. So that's my experience with the Genesis. So very little on either. So when I heard, it piqued my interest. Like, oh, okay. So these are going to come onto the Switch. Then I got a little apprehensive when it said it was going to be an add-on price. And I'm thinking, I don't really want to pay extra for things I will not use often, but I'll wait for the price. I was thinking, my hope was that it was going to be $5 more. But I was thinking, not realistic, I'm going to say about $10 more. Well, it wasn't $5 more, and it wasn't $10 more. My biggest fear was, well, are they just going to double the price of the collection? It would seem like a Nintendo thing to do. Double the price to get an expansion. So, what was it going to be, $20 more so I could pay $40? No, it wasn't even that. It was announced today that the price was going to be $50. $30 more for this expansion. And I almost fell on my seat when I watched the video. I wish I filmed myself reacting. It was amazing. I almost leaned back and hurt myself. I was flabbergasted. I was like, so we're paying more for an add-on than we are for the base thing. How often does that happen? And if it was $5 more, I would think to myself, I would totally get it. $5 extra, that seems like a good price. If it was $10 more, I would have to debate it. I would probably end up not getting it, but who knows? Maybe I would think about it like, you know what? I'll pay the extra $10 per year so I can at least play it. You know, play it at 64. Maybe I'll use a lot more than I think. However, for $50, $30 more, it seems like that's pretty much a no purchase. Like, I'm just not going to get that expansion for $50. First off, that's the price of most games. That means with my limited budget, I will basically be one game fewer per year just to get 2 add-ons that I may or may not get my money's worth. And ultimately, that is the problem. How much am I going to get my money's worth? Now, if I can't get my money's worth out of it, then the money is really no object to an extent, you know what I mean? But, you know, paying frivolous money for that is not that big of an issue. For instance, I don't pay full price for most games, but when I do, I know I'm going to get my full time out of it. For instance, I paid the full... Actually, no, I didn't. Okay, I was going to say I paid the full price for Mario Maker 2, but no, I got it for $10 less at Walmart. But I did pay full price for Smash Bros. Ultimate, and I can tell you that I did in fact get my money's worth out of that. So, the expensive price itself is not a big deal. Outside the whole, I don't make a whole lot of money to begin with, so I would have to save up for that. The problem is the principle. I don't see myself, basically, if I buy it, I'm going to have to say, you know what, I'm going to have to get $30 of enjoyment out of the 2 apps, basically $15 each. And I don't think I cannot guarantee myself I'm going to play them enough. For instance, I don't see myself playing the Genesis one very much. It seems like with those kind of games, you either have to be interested in the history of the franchises, or you have to be nostalgic for it. For instance, I play Super Mario World a lot when I go to the Nintendo, Super NES app. Not only because I'm interested in the history of Mario, but because I used to play it all the time. And I started playing Super Metroid. That game I had never played before. But it has aged so well that I kind of been interested in playing it. Not to mention the history of where Metroid came from is interesting to me, as I started with Metroid Prime. That is a discussion for another video. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys want to hear me ramble on about my experiences with Metroid and what I think about and what I think if I'm going to get Metroid Dread at some point. But that's another story. Anyway, I don't think I'm going to get myself... the problem is that the big thing is I don't think I'm going to get any kind of enjoyment out of the Genesis one at all. I had played some Genesis... Well, okay, I had played some Genesis games and like those... I'm not sure they sell it anymore, but there's like a collection that you plug into TV and you play a few games on there. I played some Genesis games on that thing, but I wasn't interested in it. It seemed like if I was a child in the early 90s, I would have, in the big Sega versus Nintendo, probably been Nintendo, on Nintendo's side. So, kind of like I am now. All my game systems are Nintendo systems. So, my big thing is, I don't see myself playing the Genesis one very much. So now that leaves the Nintendo 64. Will I get $30 worth per year? Keep in mind, I pay per year, not a one-time purchase. If it's a one-time purchase, we're talking about a whole different thing. Because, like, $30? Okay. We can talk. But we're talking $30 per year. So am I going to get, in 1 year, will I play it enough to warrant the $30 price tag? Because I know it won't with Genesis. And the answer is, I don't think so. The problem is, when I play on the Switch, most of the time I want to play the new games that I have for it, the new games I spent a lot of money on. Like, if I play on the Switch, why would I play Banjo-Kazooie, which I'm sure is a great game, but why would I play that when I can play Smash Bros. Ultimate that I paid $60 for? You get the idea? Now, that's my big issue, is like, the price point is just so insane. You're paying more than double that you normally would pay for these two extra apps. And yes, I know some people might be pissed that I'm not talking about the Animal Crossing DLC enough, but that does not appeal to me. I don't play Animal Crossing, so I'm just gonna ignore that. Like, I'm not getting any kind of enjoyment out of that at all. And I'm certainly not gonna buy the game just to use DLC. That's just not happening. I think it's kind of an added bonus to get people to buy it, which I don't know. I mean, I know Animal Crossing sold a crap ton, but would that really get people enough to buy it? I don't think so. We'll see. Unfortunately, it seems like the reaction to it is a bit more mixed. I was hoping to be completely overwhelmingly negative, but it seems more mixed. A lot of people are upset by the price point, but some people seem okay with it. Some people are justified by saying it's only $4 a month. It's like, yeah, but the problem is paying it all at once. And some people seem like they have a lot of nostalgia for it, and that's perfectly fine. If you do, that's wonderful. But I don't. What's funnier is that they are also selling cheap imitation, replicas of classic controllers, classic Nintendo 64 and classic Genesis controllers. That's great. That's really cool. It's wireless and it goes into a Switch. Somehow, I'm not exactly sure how that works. But the problem I have with it is they're each $50. Not $50 for both, $50 for each. So now if you want the authentic way, you have to pay $50 for the, or if you want to really $30 for the expansion, $50 for the Nintendo 64 controller, and $50 for the Sega Genesis controller. Assuming you didn't already spend $50 for each of the other controllers. So that's a lot of money to get your nostalgia fix in. For instance, I just play the NES, Super NES games with the normal Switch controller. I don't have to have that old controller in my hand. That's fine. I don't care. As long as it controls well, I don't much care. So I guess in conclusion, I'm not going to. There's not probably anything. I am definitely not going to be getting this expansion unless they really reduce the price. If they reduce it to $10 extra, I will debate it. And of course, if unrealistically hell froze over and they reduce it to $5 extra, then I'll definitely get it the next time I have to pay. I got my Switch in August, so no, sorry, that's wrong. I didn't get my Switch in August. I got my first online game in August. In August, and that was when I got my first Nintendo membership. So if I were to, if let's say tomorrow they say they're going to drop it down to $5 due to backlash, I won't even get that until we hit August 2021, 2022. So that's where I stand right now. I will not get it. I don't recommend anyone else get it, because if you do, it just encourages Nintendo to overprice things like this. Kind of what I have with Madden right now. We complain about Madden, but then we buy it anyway. So I would encourage people not to get it. Let's send a message to Nintendo. I'm not gonna get it personally because the price is just not worth it. There's absolutely no way I'm going to warrant $30 extra to get this expansion. So, and if you want the expansion, that's perfectly fine. I'm not here to judge. Um, like I said I'm going to advertise against it passively. I'm not going to force anybody not to get it. You know what I mean? So that's it. I just wanted to talk to you guys about that. It just happened today, so I just wanted to give a scriptless, rehearsalist, I guess, hot take on what's going on. So I just want to thank you all for listening to me whine, I guess. If you please leave a like to this video, subscribe if you haven't already, share this video as that is the best way to help channels like mine, and please leave a comment down below what you think about this new Nintendo expansion, or it could be simple as what you think about my channel, what you guys want me to do in the future, etc., etc. So thank you all very much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.